A horrible row with revelations that there is a massive question mark over it for September. So is there?
No, there isn't. It's going to happen. It's properly budgeted. It will happen. If you look in the newspapers today, Michael Gove and David Laws, the Conservative and Liberal Democrat ministers in the Department for Education, have come out publicly just to quell any noises off and said, look, this is going to happen. It is properly funded. I tell you what, it's going to be a really, really important boost to families up and down the country who are paying £400 a year to pay for school lunches. It's been shown, because we've tested this over many years, it's been shown to have a dramatic effect on kids' ability to concentrate in class in the afternoon. It's got a very good effect as well in having children mixed together at lunchtime. So I think it's going to be one of the most positive things that's happened in our school system for a long time. Of course, there are lots and lots of schools across the country. We're helping them all, but it will happen in September and it'll be of great benefit. So
in that article that you refer to, in it, they jointly say, you might expect the two of us to be crouched under our desks like the last survivors in a Bruce Willis movie, only popping out occasionally to blast each other with shotguns. Well, even writing that in the article puts that image in people's heads, doesn't it? No, look, in a coalition, I mean, a coalition is what it says on a tin. Yeah. There are differences of opinion. So I have long been an advocate of providing healthy, free school lunches to all children, particularly the youngest children, because the evidence is so overwhelming. It not only saves families money, but it has a fantastic... But have you had to force these two to make a truce over it?
I've been very clear that given that, if you really want to know, in all the sort of argy-bargy in Whitehall, which I don't think is of much interest to the parents and the teachers and the children who are actually going to benefit in September, but there's a few rather peculiar Conservative and former Conservative advisers who don't like this policy and seem to be spending a lot of time trying to discredit it. I think it's a pity because, frankly, their views are irrelevant. This is going to happen. Myself, David Cameron, George Osborne, Michael Gove, David Laws, anyone of any significance you could get on this programme in government is absolutely determined this will happen on time, on budget, in September, and it'll be of great benefit.
Does the Education Secretary not have enough control over his advisers?
Look, you have this from time to time in politics. You have people who aren't sort of elected to anything, who don't have any authority of their own, and when they get a sort of backroom advisor's job, it all slightly goes to their head. What I care about is what we're going to do in September for children, and that is something where the government, the coalition government, as you saw in the David Laws, Michael Gove article this morning, is completely united. We want this to benefit children, as it will, massively now and in the future.
OK, before we talk about the European elections, we went out and we spoke to some of our viewers to give us their opinion on what the coalition has been like and what the last few years has been like for the Lib Dems. This is what they had to say.
I think they're absolute rubbish, simple as.
I think disappointing is a good word, really. Not coming up to scratch.
But how do you think they've balanced out from the Tory parties?
Disappointing.
Not very well in some respects. Could do better.
Rubbish. I think the Conservatives have done everything and they haven't. They're just there, aren't they, in name now?
Very damning. It seems that, according to the viewers that we spoke to then, the coalition has ruined your party. It feels like the identity of Lib Dems has been diluted massively, to the point where one of your former ministers, Jeremy Brown, suggested whether the ACT party needed to exist in the first place.
Well, I think if you look at the things we've done, we just talked about free school meals. Clearly wouldn't have happened without Liberal Democrats and people like me in government. But look at other things. But it's really important, this, because I actually think what people care about at the end of the day is not about this party or that party or this politician or that politician, but how does it affect them? How does it affect your viewers, family, life, their community? Everybody's now benefiting from the biggest tax cut in a generation because of Liberal Democrats. We're raising the point at which you start paying income tax to £10,000, £10,500 next year because of us. That's £800 off the income tax.
But our viewers don't realise if that's what's happening. From far as
but if you give it more time, I can tell more, and maybe they'll change their mind.
Doing anything.
Yeah, what we find, and actually this is a very good illustration, is when we tell people it's because of us that young kids at school are going to get free school meals. It's because of us that people are getting income tax cuts. It's because of us that we're expanding apprenticeships on a scale not seen before in a generation. It's because of us that you've seen the state pension go up in cash terms by the largest amount ever because of a Liberal Democrat triple lock guarantee on state pensions. It's because of us. I first wrote about this 10 years ago, that we're putting more money through something called the pupil premium into schools catering for children who need the most help. Now, I totally accept I've got my work cut out, self-evidently, to explain what we've done, but where we get out on people's doorsteps and explain what we've done, people, I think, recognise that without the Liberal Democrats, many of these really, really significant positive changes simply wouldn't be happening.
Is it because of you that Nigel Farage has an even higher profile and has won many people over on the Europe message?
Well, we'll see the results next week. I think if you look across Europe, to be honest, Nigel Farage is not on his own. There are a lot of politicians who are sort of getting up and saying anyone who's in government is rubbish and all your problems can be blamed on foreigners. That seems to be a bit of a trend which you can see in France, in Italy, in Austria, in the Netherlands. And you can kind of see why, because we've been through a very, very difficult time, not just as a country, but as a continent over the last few years after the terrible crisis in 2008. People are feeling unsure about their futures, are feeling angry in many respects about what's happened in the banks and so on. So, of course, people like Nigel Farage say, look, we can lift all your problems from your shoulders by blaming it on somebody else.
Yeah.
I understand that's seductive.
In the polls it is, isn't it?
Yes, but listen, you know, polls go up and down, politicians go up and down. My own view is that if you want to win the argument against what Nigel Farage stands for, because I think if we did what he recommends, you'd see joblessness go up, you'd see less money in people's pockets, you'd probably see crime grow up because you can't go after criminals who cross borders. So I think it's right, if you want to win an argument, you have to have the argument,
Okay,
and that's why I don't understand why people like Ed Miliband have run for the hills and aren't even prepared to have the debate.
Nick Clegg, thank you for joining us this morning.